with the instructions of Shavuot in the Torah, 3,000 dropped dead because of rebellion. But here Yahweh, Yeshua himself, covers our rebellion, and all we've got to do is put it on publicly so Satan can see that we're not naked. Because if we don't put on baptism publicly, we walk all the days of our life in our father Adam's flesh, and we are fair game to the enemy. Well, that's not true, Rabbi, because if I get baptized, maybe 4 or 5 people will see it. That doesn't mean Satan will see it. Trust me, if you obey Yahweh in believers' mikvah to fully understand the meaning of the Shavuot exchange, Yahweh will make it his business that Satan knows you obeyed and that you're covered. Bug off. Yahweh will make it his business. Hey, somebody. Baruch Hashem Yahweh. I'm not done.
Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah, we feel it.
So some didn't hear the message, or some heard the message but didn't obey. They were not immersed. They did not do so gladly. They failed to obey, and symbolically they failed to cover themselves by putting on Yeshua's whole wheat unleavened bread, flesh in baptism. They might not have thought it was important. Those who did obey were 3,000. Many have de-emphasized believers' baptism. Yet it is mikvah, the very act whereby we clothe ourselves with Yeshua's flesh. We hide, and Yah knows we need to hide. This earth is so polluted. This generation is so sinful. This world is so sick. We've got to hide from this world, but not into our fears and paranoias. We need to hide under the flesh of the whole wheat unleavened bread. And if we hide under his flesh, he will give us a flesh like unto his glorious flesh. Somebody give him praise in the house of Yahweh today. I know what I'm talking about. Are we wearing Yeshua's flesh? Until we receive our own. We have to wear his flesh until we borrow his flesh. Got it? We borrow it till we get our own. We borrow it. I like that. Notice. I love it. We borrow it until we get our own. Man, the great Shavuot. This is all about Shavuot. Everything I'm preaching and sharing today is not from my own head. It's all part of the Shavuot exchange. Hallelujah, somebody. Hallelujah, hallelujah somebody. Hallelujah. Hallelujah to Yahweh, somebody. But I'm not done. Look at verse 42. And they continued. Well, I heard Rabbi Moshe's teaching. It's good. Now I'm going to Avi Ben Mordechai. Now I'm going to Michael Rood. Then I'm going to Charles Stanley. I'm just going to kind of make the rounds. Watch it. Not that I'm smarter than anybody. Not that I'm better than anybody, but if you are mature, you ought to know who's preaching in the Ruach and who's not. Make sure you don't make the rounds, because that's the guarantee of the confusion. If you know 1 or 2 or 3 teachers are teaching by the Ruach, stay plugged into those teachers.
Amen. That's right.
And I'm not going to tell you who's who. You can figure it out.
Amen.
Amen?
Amen.
Todah Rabah Yahweh. Now watch this, verse 42. And they continue steadfastly, notice, in the Shlichim's, verse 42, don't miss this, in the Shlichim's Torah and Chavurah. Well, Rabbi, I used to hang around for Chavurah, but not anymore. Continue in the Shlichim's Torah, continue in the Shlichim's Chavurah. Regardless of how you feel, Chavurah is part of the Torah. Fellowship is part of continuing in the Torah. The Shlichim's Torah and Chavurah. Now don't miss this. And the breaking of Lechem, and in the Tefillot. Now I think you may have missed that. Yahweh says part of what you should continue to do is fellowship, Torah, and breaking bread. So when we read breaking bread, Althea, what do we think? Right? Food. In the Pasha. But now let's go to the Remez, to the hint. The breaking of bread, isn't that what Shavuot is all about? The breaking of your old bread, your old flesh, in order for him to cover you and clothe you with new flesh.
Amen.
So as people get saved, and more people get saved, and more people come into the community of faith, we share what Yeshua has done for us through baptism and believing in Yeshua. And we break, Yahweh breaks their bread, just like he broke our bread to clothe us with new flesh. You missed that. How many got that? Raise your hand. So in the Pasha, we break bread with one another. But in the Remez, or the hint, part of continuing in Mashiach's Torah and his instructions is fellowshipping with others who have become first fruit whole wheat offerings before Yahweh, based on the great Shavuot exchange, and includes this hidden mystery. This is what Yeshua did for us on Shavuot. And all who follow the Shavuot experience by obeying Yahweh to receive mikvah, to clothe themselves with Yeshua's whole wheat unleavened bread until we get our own. All who share in the Shavuot experience by obedience. Not all, those who do it gladly. Not all, those who do it gladly. Not all, those who do it gladly. Those who obey and do it gladly will have their bread broken. Can you please get this on? Does it get any clear? If you participate in the Shavuot exchange, the part of the program is for you to have your bread broken, because Yahweh wants to clothe you with his whole wheat unleavened bread.
Amen.
Part of the disciples' Torah. It's part of the Torah of the Talmidim. Continuing to break bread as more and more come into the camp and gladly obey Yahweh in mikvah. They will have their bread broken. They will have their dust nature, their flesh, their lechem, also broken, like we have. And then we will have the sweet, untainted fellowship with other brothers and sisters who have received the same incredible revelation of the whole wheat unleavened bread. We will have sweet fellowship with them because their flesh, their bread will be broken. As part of the great Shavuot exchange. Until he breaks our bread, we cannot put on his flesh, his bread. Until he breaks our bread. Part of the Shlichim's doctrine is the breaking of our flesh, of our bread. My. What really happened on Shavuot? We'll wind down because some of you look like you don't want anymore. Shame on you. What really happened on Shavuot some 2,000 years ago in the house of Yahweh? The bread of human flesh and dust was broken. The breaking of bread, the human flesh, the human nature, the human will, by the power of the Ruach HaKodesh, through obedience in believers' mikvah, so they can be clothed with power, the power of Yahweh, and the flesh of Yahweh. Did you get that?
Amen.
The Ruach gives you the power of Yahweh. The mikvah gives you the flesh of Yahweh. You need both. The Ruach gives you the power of Yahweh. The mikvah gives you the flesh of Yahweh. Put on his flesh. That's the only chance you got. Put on his flesh. The only chance you have. Todah Rabah Yahweh. This is the same application for us as well as those in the house of Yahweh. In 33 CE. Question is, have you put on the flesh of Yeshua?
Amen.
That's the question. People ask me all the time. I put on the flesh of Yeshua in the church in nombre de Jesus.
Of course.
Far be it from me to tell you what to do, but I would seriously consider putting on the whole wheat unleavened bread in nombre de Yeshua.
Yes, amen.
Not the horse.
Check this out, listen. So the same that applied to our ancestors in the house of Yahweh applies to us. Go with me quickly to Romans 13:14. Romans 13:14. Let's start in verse 12. Now don't miss this, because you're going to love this. Turn to your neighbor and say, you're going to love this. Let's try that again. You love it.
You love it.
All right. Verse 12. Romans 13:12. The night is far spent. The day is at hand. Let us. Is he talking to our ancestors? Or is he talking to us also? He's talking to us also. Let us cast off the deeds of darkness and put on the talit of light. How many believe Yahshua has a special Jewish bookstore in West Palm Beach where Beltrami and me and everybody else can go in and buy a talit of light extra large? Can I see your hand? If you believe there's a Jewish bookstore where we can buy a talit of light. Excuse me, sir, I'll take 2 talits of light, 3 talits of darkness. It's a metaphor. For what? In order to receive the talit of light as a free gift, we've got to cast off something else. Oh yeah, now we're getting hot. In order to put on a talit of light, we've got to cast off something dark. And here's what it is. Romans 13:12. Let us cast off through mikvah or immersion, going into the water, the deeds of darkness, the corrupted bread, full of chametz, leaven, and in exchange, the great Sukkot exchange, Darryl. When we go into believers' mikvah, we put down the flesh of darkness and then put on the flesh or the talit of light. Amen. The actual words here, and I've added that in the restoration scriptures, the talit of light. Amen. When we go in, when we get rid of our flesh, we come up out of the water, we are symbolizing what Shavuot is all about. It's not a Christian thing, it's not a Gentile thing, it's not a Catholic thing. It symbolizes what the Torah and Shavuot and the Great Exchange was all about. Putting down the leavened bread, letting Yahweh break our bread in the disciples' doctrine to put on the new flesh or the talit of light. Baruch Hashem. Look at verse 13. Let us have an honest halakha in the day, not in wild parties, or drunkenness, or living together before marriage, or indecency, or fighting, or envying. Verse 14. Here it is. Put on Yeshua HaMoshiach, and make no provision for that old flesh to fulfill its lust. How do we put on Yeshua? Mikvah, mikvah, mikvah. We are commanded to put on Yeshua through mikvah, declaring to the world and the devil, I am a participant, I am a member, I am a beneficiary of the great exchange.
Amen. Put on Yeshua.
Put on Yeshua.
Amen. May your light so shine.
In other words, we don't have our whole wheat unleavened bread body yet like his, but until we do, please borrow his. Until we get his, please borrow his. How do I do it? By declaring you are not your own. You've let go of that old body, thrown it into the grave, and allowing your nakedness to be covered until he comes and returns for you and gives you your own body. Whole wheat unleavened. We close with this. 1 Corinthians 15:47. The Shavuot exchange and the missing link. So what is the missing link to the whole account of Shavuot? Mikvah. Changing. Putting on Yeshua's whole wheat unleavened bread until we have our own. 1 Corinthians 15. The first man is of the earth, earthy. The second man is the Master Yahweh from the Shamayim. As is the earthy, so also are those who are earthy. As is the heavenly, so also those that are heavenly. And as we have borne the image of the earthly one, notice, we shall bear the image of the heavenly one. Now this I say, Israelite brothers, flesh and dam cannot inherit the malchut of Yahweh. Neither does corruption inherit incorruption. Meaning, if Yeshua's flesh had human nature, he could not produce incorruptible seed and incorruptible children to inherit the kingdom of Yahweh. He had to have flesh that was different than our flesh.
Amen.
Behold, I show you a sowed mystery. We shall not all die. Some people will be alive when Yeshua returns. We will not all die. Some folks will be alive when Yeshua returns. That's not the mystery. Here's the mystery. We shall all be changed. Changed into what? Whole wheat, unleavened bread. Most believers don't even know what kind of change they're going to come with. All you got to do is look at Yeshua's whole wheat unleavened bread, and you'll know what your reward is going to be. We will not all die before Yeshua returns. Some believers will be alive when he returns, but one thing's for sure, we're all going to be changed.
Amen.
In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last shofar, for the shofar shall sound, and the dead shall be raised incorruptible. Then you're going to put on your what? Your promise and your new whole wheat unleavened bread body, and we will then be changed. So until then, we haven't been changed, so what are we supposed to do? Cover. Take cover. Your change hasn't come, take cover. Shh. It's not important. In other words, Satan, wait, you're telling me I shouldn't take cover? I'm going to take cover until my change comes. And the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we all shall be changed. For this corrupted, this leavened bread, symbolized by the 2 loaves of Vayikra 23, these 2 loaves, not all the 2 loaves, Zechariah, but 2/10, a remnant, Romans 11:5, will enter the truth of redemption. Not all of the 2 loaves, 2/10 of the loaves, a remnant will be saved. For this corruption must put on incorruption. This mortal must put on immortality. And when this corruptible shall have put on incorruption, and when this mortal shall have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass the saying that is written. Not now, then. But how do you know what is written? And how do you know what will come to pass when you don't fully enter and understand the great Shavuot exchange? In order to enter it, you've got to understand it.
That's it.
This mortal will have put on immortality, then shall be brought to pass, then, not now, now we're just covered under his flesh. Then we'll have our own whole wheat unleavened bread flesh, and then when? When? Then death will be swallowed up in victory. Death hasn't been swallowed up in victory yet, so we've got to hide under his life. The only way to hide in his life is to put on his flesh until we receive our own. Brothers and sisters, today I declare to you the missing link to the great Shavuot exchange. We love you. Shalom, Chag Sameach. Let's eat. We love you. Thank you for coming. We'll see you on Shabbat. Baruch Hashem. Yahweh.
And I heard as it were the voice of a shofar talking with me.